Friends, colleagues and listeners, here we are, another podcast and another great guest. And before I announce my guest, I've got to say, one of the most energetic, enthusiastic and upbeat persons I've met in a long time. And the person I'm talking about is Tal Leemor. And Tal is the VP of Marketing and Partnerships for Hoopo. And I hope I pronounced that well and correctly, Tal, because the last time I did it with your CEO, I learned so much about the pronunciation and the origins of the name. I'll never forget.
Hi, Chris. Pleasure to be here. Yeah, you pronounced it correctly. The name of the company is indeed Hoopo.
Brilliant. Now, I've got a little bit of knowledge to make people feel as if I've got some sort of intelligence. But I do know that Hoopo is made up of two words, Hebrew words, which are it, here. Okay, and obviously it is spelled IT, which is appropriate for what you're doing. So just very quickly, Tal, can you give us a little bit of background of exactly what Hoopo does, please?
Yes, of course. So as you said, the meaning of the name is in Hebrew is it's here. And in a nutshell, that's what we do. We track assets. And when I say assets, I mean unpowered assets, equipment in different logistics and different industries that I'll say in a second. And we track these assets and provide location-based intelligence in order for these operations to optimize their efficiency, improve their service, and improve their usage from the existing fleet. Of course, Here we're talking about, we are active in the sector of the ground support handling, or as you say, we help ground handlers track their non-powered ground support equipment. So like cargo dollies, luggage dollies, tow bars, and so on. And we use our solution is a smart solution that uses multiple different technologies and configurations that enable a continuous end-to-end visibility with real-time data while keeping power consumption to the bare minimum. This means that batteries actually last for years, which is crucial when you're tracking unpowered assets in comparison to powered assets, for instance.
Yeah, so my understanding is, right, so you've got non-powered GSE and you've got your small unit, which can be screwed on or fixed on, etc. And it's battery run. Yeah, that's it. Beautiful. Hey, always prepared, Tal, always prepared. So it's a very simple system, isn't it? And then and then you're able to track everything. And obviously for a handling operation, it's one of the triggers that you need to make sure that you've got the capability to handle whatever business volumes, etc., during those peak or trough times. So you know exactly where the equipment is that you need at any one time, and you can prepare, make sure it's in the right place, get people to go and find it, go and bring it back, etc. That's one of the benefits, correct?
Definitely. And it's not only, first of all, it's very important that it's a plug and play. And as you said, really simple, battery operated, doesn't need to be connected to anything. You just smack and track. And when we're talking about the location, it's not only knowing the location of the unpowered assets, but also the availability. So for instance, whether the dolly is loaded or unloaded, if it's available for operations or it's currently already in operations. And immediately it gives all kinds of benefits, like just also operating in a quicker manner, preventing delays, optimizing the usage of your existing fleet, which also enables to reduce procurement and buying new assets, which is a big cost. And besides that, when you track for longer and you have more data, you can also get other benefits, like starting to do usage-based maintenance and predictive maintenance and all kinds of other stuff that also bring profit. But
right. So tell me now. You spoke there about predictive maintenance, etc. How does that work?
Well, in a way, there is a few different things to say about that. But when we say predictive maintenance, is two things. Usually nowadays, maintenance is done, let's say, once a year. for the different equipment. When you have a tracking system, you can also, in different sectors, it's a bit more popular, but what you can do is not just have a random one time or based on a calendar, but you can actually do it based on usage. So if you have a dolly that's went over X miles and another dolly that went X divided by 2, so this one needs to go into maintenance beforehand to prevent all kinds of different, things that repairs and stuff like that.
Yeah, so you can check the bearings and see if any plastic or waste has wrapped around the wheels and things like that, yeah?
Exactly, and and because you're tracking its usage, you know how to do it in the right timing.
Yeah. Right, so now I've got a question for you on a personal note. How did you get into this business and why?
Well, that's actually quite interesting. It is random in a way and not random. Since I was a young girl, I've been actually traveling a lot because my father is a captain in El Al, the Israeli airline.
Okay, yeah.
So as a child, we've been a very traveling family, you can say, and I've joined my father for many, many flights, most of them to the US actually. And as a child, I was really fascinated, of course, also from the aircraft itself and from the cockpit and seeing my father, and the cockpit has so many different buttons and it's just like overwhelming, but also just the airport. And I remember myself being fascinated just by how big everything was and how it operates in a way. It kind of triggered my just my curiosity. And so that's the background. Then we're jumping many, many, many years forward, of course, and I've done my studies, my BM and my master's in psychology, and I ended up working in the marketing and business development sectors, basically because I'm very interested in relationships just between people, and also how the psychological effect of the marketing. But those two combined brought me to Hupo, and and that's how I'm here today.
Okay, and then taking out the products and with the fact that I know, and it's Itai, isn't it? Itai?
Yeah, Itai is the CEO and one of the co-founders.
And co-founder. So I was so intrigued when I first met him and spoke with him, and he as well. He's so full of energy, and he's a young lad, and he's so I got the impression that he knows exactly where he wants to be at any one particular time. And
yes.
So when you met him, or I'm assuming you met him for the interview, did you?
Yes.
Yeah. So what was it that appealed to you? Because one of the things that myself and Sala have been talking about is what makes people join a company. What do they see when they first go? So obviously, you look it up, you find out the detail, etc., and it's got a reputation, or it's a new startup and it's going through Series A funding or whatever. But what is it that makes somebody think to themselves, right, I am now going to give 1, 2, or 3 years of my life, my career, to this company because?
Okay, I think it's a very good question. I think also it's a very personal question. It depends on, of course, each person and their priority and their priorities. Because in the end, when you come and you choose your next job, or as you said, where are you going to spend your time, your resources, your energy, and everything, there are all kinds of different let's say features that each person prioritize differently, right? In the end, when you come to this conclusion, to this decision, I have to say that regarding myself, it was 2 main things. Okay, I think for me, as I said, I'm a very people-oriented person, and in the end, I think that the people you work with are the most important, because in the end, I think that the energy and the vibe and just how the culture of the place, it impacts the most of your daily feeling and your daily operations. So people, and who are the people? And the other thing is, the other 2 things is, second, what is the sector? For instance, myself, it is important for me to work in a company or in a business that I feel, and it sounds a bit tacky, but what can I say? It's true. That's doing something a bit better for this world. Okay. Also with Hupo, also with my previous work, which was in the medical device segment. Let's say I wouldn't go work now as a marketing VP marketing in a gambling company, for instance. Okay, like I do want to feel that I am contributing to a better world, and I think that the combination of this vision and the people, just the people themselves, Itai, Ilan, Erez, the people that were here in Hupo, the combination of it really made me once enthusiastic about starting to work here, because I think that besides just the quality and the professionalism of the people here, it's also the vision and the enthusiasm of bringing this change and this new 4.0 era for a bit more more conservative industries that are a bit less techy in a way. And we feel that with our solution, which is, it's a very simple way to transform more these industries into more techy and to use technology as a tool to help them optimize their operation. And I think that we're very passionate about it, and we feel that it's a vision that we want to work for.
No, that's good. And that was very politely put. Conservative industries. There's a legacy of conservatism in this industry because, and especially with digitization, and we won't go into paperless and everything else, but it really is, compared to other industries, very, very slow. So what challenges have you had to overcome, you know, with your marketing and your partnership responsibilities, and knowing that it's a very conservative industry? What have been the biggest challenges to get people to say, well, all right, we'll give it a try, or, you know, let me show you the data, because obviously data-driven decision making now is much more reliable than it ever was before, and they'll be able to see what you've been able to do with other organizations. What is it? What's that you know, that ingredient when you suddenly light up inside? And I've seen you light up inside. I've seen how positive you are when you know, that's it, I've got them. What is that turning point? What's that ingredient that makes them realize that, yep, you know, we should be taking some of this digitization forward and making use of what these people are doing?
So I have two parts for this answer, if it's okay. First is regarding the challenge, and I think that it's a very interesting topic, discussing what is the challenge in the aviation industry with incorporating new technological tools or telematics. And I think that we are in a very also interesting time now, because on one hand, of course, we overcame the pandemic, and I think that in a way, all the chaos that was in the airports in the past 2 years kind of made the realization quicker how important it is to optimize the efficiency of operations and to use these digital tools or technological tools to, you know, to really enhance your operations and your customer service, and to be agile so you can change your operations according to whatever craziness is going out there. So that realization is now stronger in our potential customers, for instance, right? But on the other hand, we need to remember two other key factors. One factor is that many of the ground handlers in this industry, or some of them, had some kind of experience with some sort of tracking solution, whether it's RFID or Bluetooth or whatever, a few years ago. And in my opinion, and from my knowledge, it was technology wasn't mature enough at that age. So the solutions weren't good enough. So the customers and the end users were disappointed from the results. So there is a bit of a limitation there, that there is not so much enthusiasm for accepting and trying new solutions, because there is a past disappointment. So now there's a bit skeptical that it will behave as we want it, because we already had this, you know, kind of disappointment in the past. And the third factor is that let's not forget, sorry, that the aviation industry has gone through like 3 crazy years, right? And the budget, and everybody felt it in their operations, and of course in the budget. And no one is running quickly these days to open up their purse and say, here, take my money. I mean, everything is super, super, super cautious now. So I think this is an interesting place to operate from, and I think that this is our challenge today.
Yeah.
I think so. That was the first part of the answer. To the second part of what is the turning point. In the end, it's all about ROI, right? As a customer, when you're operating as a business, before you buy or you invest in something, you want to know how fast am I going to get that money back, and how fast is it going to save more money for me?
Yeah, exactly. Benefit and impact.
Yeah, and I think that in a way, that's the turning point, right? Because each of our potential customers, if we're talking about ground handlers or asset operators, they all know what it is, that you can't find a specific tow bar for the 777 aircraft, and in the end you have to bring it from a different location where you're operating. It costs you money, it costs a lot of time, everything is just a hassle and a waste, and then in the end it was in the back of the warehouse, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
We all know it. And I mean, all handlers know these cases and the frustration that they cause, right?
Yeah.
But I think it's once you dive a bit deeper into these kind of use cases and how often do they happen, and how much do they cost, and how much do they affect your operations in the overall, it really kind of starts the realization starts going. You see the other person kind of starting to think, and also from existing customers. I mean, we have customers that we've been operating with them only for 1 year, and within this year, just from knowing where their equipment is, I mean, we have a lot more planning to do with the telematics, but just from knowing where their equipment is, it's the first time in 10 years that they didn't need to buy any new cargo dollies. Okay, that's a lot of saving. I mean, straight off, they returned much more of the investment that the solution was.
Yeah.
So I think in the end, it's the way to understand that it will not only help you with the efficiency and kind of operate better, but it will actually help your bottom line and on your saving and your costs and your
Yeah, which is so important. And there's something that I've started using now in some of the projects I'm involved in. And people say, well, what is it you're trying to achieve, or what is it that you think we should be achieving? And putting it very simply, it's delivering ordinary things well and consistently accurately. That then in itself becomes an extraordinary achievement. And our business is very simple. And you need to be able to do things that anybody would assume is ordinary or simple, but you need to do it consistently, accurately, and always improving on the speed. And then people will start to notice. And that ordinary consistency is actually extraordinary in our conservative industry.
It's very extraordinary. Something that operates consistently good today, I think, is hard to find in general. I think one more thing that's important to say here in this perspective is, I think one of the way of thoughts or the perspective that handlers have in this industry, for instance, is that first we want to track or implement telematics solution on the powered assets and then the unpowered, right? It's kind of how it works, right? Because the powered, they're more valuable, they can bring us more harm, we want to monitor them. But on the other hand, I'm kind of just on the other hand, when you look at quantity wise, right, every handler has 3 or 5 or sometimes even 10 more unpowered compared to powered assets, right? That's one thing. And the other thing is the time or the money that they waste, because in the end, when you have a tractor or a vehicle or a power, there is someone there and you know where it is. The dollies or the tow bars that are scattered all over the airport, sometimes they're you're actually wasting the most time on them, and that's like a thorn in your operations, And also the fact that the implementation of the solution is such more plug and play. And I think this is crucial, because the importance is how does your organization take the data and take the solution and adapt it to its needs, and doesn't have to go out of its way now.
And also to reduce the amount of wasted resource, like you said, looking and reacting and then realizing that something else is going to have a knock-on effect. And at the end of the day, you're like you said, your unpowered equipment or your non-mechanized equipment, that should be part of available triggers for all of your business, so that you know that you're equipped appropriately and you're not going to have any deficiencies or delays in flight handling or whatever it is that
Exactly.
that you need at the time. So no, 100%. Right, I've got another little question for you. What do you think is going to be the biggest challenges now moving forward over the next 2 to 5 years? Or do you think it's going to swing the other way, that people are going to start realizing the benefits of digitization, savings and faster? And sorry to add another little element, do you think that's going to be driven by the global resource problem that they've got now and, competency?
Okay, I'll answer everything. First of all the answers are correct. What does it mean? We still have challenges, but I do think that digitization and telematics are getting. It's now the time. I know. I see it I hear this from our customers. Everybody. If before it wasn't like there wasn't the awareness that how much it needed, I think today everybody in the industry knows it and feels it. It's just a question of how fast will it be implemented, and that's a big question, because it is we are a slow industry because it's so regularized and so on. I think there are two main challenges. One main challenge is, and this is a really crucial one, what do you do with the data? What do I mean? In the end, there are the technology providers or the solution providers, and there are the companies, for instance, the handlers. Let's say our solution or any other solution provides data of position, of your fleet, of your availability. What do you do with the data? And I think this is something that we need to work together as an industry, the handlers, and maybe even, IATA and the providers, to understand how to make the data most approachable and most usable for the handlers. Because otherwise, if there's no investment from the customer side to use the data, it doesn't make any sense, and it's a bit like a catch-22 there. So the first thing is, how do you customize the data? How do you use the data, and how do you adapt it to your organization and how it operates and the needs? That is one challenge. And the other challenge, I think, when we're looking forward and we're looking what are the next steps that the technology will bring, is in a way interconnectivity between the different suppliers. And what do I mean? I mean, if I'm looking, for instance, from a handler's point of view, and I have a fleet and I'm operating all this equipment, then I have a solution for the powered assets. I have a solution for tracking the unpowered assets. And when we're looking at the next step, it will also, the tracking and the monitoring go to the unit and to the ULD and pallet level, okay? And that's very interesting as well, because our trackers act as hubs for these smart BLE stickers. But what I'm saying is, of course, all the data can integrate using API, okay? So like the basic integration or the fact that you will see all the data together, that's okay. But on a deeper level, to understand how the industry works and cooperates with the different stakeholders and cooperates just to really create the best solution that brings the most value to the handlers and to the end customers, which are the passengers in the end.
Yeah, no, 100%. And that's why I think now, every now and again, there's great ideas, there's great initiatives, great innovations, etc. But if everything comes together and the timing is just not right, no matter how good it is, it's not going to work. But I think everything now is coming together, like a perfect storm, and people are realizing, and it's been emphasized now by the concerns and the issues with a lack of manpower, a lack of resource and competent resource. So you've got to now look at things that are more efficient to help, and
exactly. It's also when you asked about the lack of resources or the fact that there's scarcity of equipment, of course, this influences, right? Because if in all sectors also, we track also chassis in the US, and if you need a new chassis or a new dolly and you need to wait for so much long, then you need to optimize the usage of your existing dollies. Otherwise, you're in a problem. Especially with all the changes and the surge in activity, the passengers' flights going and changing, there's a lot of uncertainty nowadays. So the operations need to adapt.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, the agility around the efficiencies and optimization is so important, and that's what people have got to cater for and compensate for. So.
And I think also just one last thing that you said is, as you said, the time is now, because about the importance of the timing. And I think a good example from this sector is, as we said, when they tried, when there was these solutions with the RFID that used, some of the handlers tried to use them to track their ground support equipment, and it wasn't very successful. But we have to take into consideration that also technology evolved and matured, and now fits the use case, which in the end is the most important.
Yeah, and it's more cost effective as well.
Yes, of course. That has to be to make it feasible. If it's not cost effective in such a logistic complex operation, it won't be feasible as a solution.
Yeah, no, 100%. Tal, we've come to the end of the time. As always, whenever I have an interaction with you, it flies by. It's always entertaining, it's always educational, and it's always a lot of fun. You're an absolute star, Tal. And I'm sure Itai knows that, and please say hello to him and pass my best regards, and hopefully we'll see you soon.
Yes, thank you so much, Chris. For me, it's always such a pleasure as well, and I thank you for your time, and I hope we meet again soon. Continue to talk, We will.
Take care.
Excellent. Thank you.